You know, it was dark.
Panic as at least 5 tornadoes wiped out homes and tossed cars around like toys.
It was truly like a scene out of a movie.
People describe the damage as unbelievable, catastrophic, like a war zone.
Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Tornadoes killed a man and hurt more than 130 people.
This, it's a life. He didn't make it, and it's tragic.
That's now on News Center 7. And good evening, I'm Cheryl McHenry.
And I'm James Brown. It was this time last night that News Center 7 was wall-to-wall with our coverage, tracking 5 tornadoes that left behind devastating damage. We just learned an EF3 tornado that hit Beaver Creek actually started in Riverside. And an EF2 tornado swept through northern Montgomery County, not too far from Englewood. Also, an EF0 tornado was just confirmed near Phillipsburg.
One person died in Salina, and across our area, storms hurt more than 130 other people. The National Weather Service confirmed the 4 tornadoes touched down in 3 different counties.
And WHIO saw catastrophic damage in 6 cities. Tonight, Greene, Mercer, and Montgomery counties are under a state of emergency.
News Center 7 has team coverage from the hardest hit areas. Let's start with Sean Cudahy in Trotwood, where thousands are in the dark tonight.
Well, you certainly don't have to look far to find debris in yards. That's all over the region. Meanwhile, another common sight, pitch black. Even at this hour, you'd expect to see at least some lights coming from homes like these, but with the power out, there are none. That has people finding ways to cope while others deal with much bigger problems.
I was actually laying in my bed. And
Shamika Milner showed us exactly what she did when the winds kicked up Monday night.
So I see the window shaking real bad. The window is shaking real bad, and I feel the apartment shaking. So I immediately go into the closet.
Deafening sounds as she tried to stay sheltered.
I'm doing this. I can't close the door at all.
Then, as the winds calmed down, a horrible discovery.
I was in such shock. I could not believe it. I'm looking all through my house. There's no roof at all. I'm crying. I'm upset.
Her apartment now trashed and completely exposed. After police freed her, she'd been trapped behind this part of the roof that fell. She went to stay with her parents and is now figuring out what furniture she can salvage. Meanwhile, many more in Trotwood are without power and thus many of life's conveniences.
I lost my power and I don't have water right now either. But
as power crews gathered and then got to work Tuesday dealing with lines tangled in debris, Jason Hampton handed out food and diapers.
Their food is going bad. That's why I'm delivering pizzas, and it's just hard for people dropping out Pampers and people who can't make it to the stores.
You hungry? Come on. There's water, there's cold water, there's food there, man.
And these guys handed out water and meals.
People said, hey, we got families, we got kids in here that are hungry.
Collective efforts, 24 hours after a storm Milner and many others are feeling lucky to have survived.
I'm definitely blessed and thankful that I got out with no injuries.
And of course, one of the biggest problems with the power out on these warm days, no air conditioning. Now, I just checked with Trotwood's mayor a short time ago to try to get an update on the efforts to restore power. She told me at this point, no major updates. However, we can tell you we've seen these crews working all throughout the evening, and we know they'll be working around the clock to try to get the electricity on to as many people as quickly as they can. In Trotwood, Sean Cudahy, News Center 7.
Trotwood is strong. Trotwood has been through a lot, and I think Trotwood is going to rebuild and come together.
And tonight, so many people in Trotwood have to do just that. The mayor says the city has never had an experience like this before. News Center 7's Molly Kowick takes us to Trotwood to show us part of the tornado's path of destruction.
The Pinkards are all okay.
It's a blessing that we made it out okay.
But their house is a different story.
It was real scary. Me and my kids, we were downstairs watching Channel 7, and we saw that it was a rotation.
That's when they knew to get to the basement just in time.
It felt like the house was rotating, moving, vibrating. You heard wind. It just sounded like a bad freight train in a bad dream.
And when they came upstairs, they found a nightmarish reality.
We came up from the basement, and my husband, he came up first, and he's yelling because he was upset. He could look up in the sky and see lightning from our house.
What was inside the Pinkard family home is now laying out across the lawn as the storm blew the roof off of 2 of the bedrooms of the house.
This is our side of the house. You see, all of our siding is completely gone. Our second story is gone, and all the trees are down.
And Stephanie Pinkard says her house wasn't even the worst in the neighborhood. Nearby, Sky 7 captured what was this house but is now a pile of rubble.
To have now witnessed, to actually have been in the line of a tornado, that takes my breath away. And to know that we survived it, that's just a blessing.
And Eyewitness 7 reporter Frederick Solanders Jr. sent us this picture before and after from Swallows Drive in Dayton. You can see the picture on the left. The storm knocked buildings off their foundations and wiped out trees.
For the past 13 days, tornadoes have caused massive damage across the United States. Yesterday, at least 52 tornadoes touched down in 14 states. At least 9 of those tornadoes were in Ohio. And now we've learned 5 of those tornadoes passed through the Miami Valley. That means a total of 13 tornadoes have touched down in our area just this year. Chief Meteorologist McCall Vrydag shows us the latest storm tracks and what areas saw the most damage.
Well, we did have a confirmation of 5 separate tornadoes from yesterday's storms, and the National Weather Service says they're not done surveying the damage yet, so that number potentially could climb as we head into the next 24 to 48 hours. This is how it's all shaping up. So we had 2 more confirmations of tornadoes this evening on top of the 3 that we knew at 5 and 6 o'clock, and most of the damage was clustered in this area in parts of Montgomery County. There was an EF0 that was confirmed near the Phillipsburg area, winds up to about 80 miles an hour. It was on the ground for about 3 miles. The more devastating tornado was the EF3 that moved through the Trotwood area with winds up as high as 150 miles an hour. It lifted near the Riverside area and then came back down. And we had that separate tornado in the Beaver Creek area. Again, winds up around 140 miles an hour. But the combined path length, this path length was on the ground for about 10 miles, nearly a 20-mile path length in northwestern parts of Montgomery County. And there was also an EF2 that touched down northeast of Dayton with winds up to about 135 miles an hour and on the ground for more than 7.5 miles. Then, of course, we cannot forget about Salina, which was devastated by a twister that came through. At this point, we know winds are falling anywhere between 136 to 165 miles per hour. Waiting for the official report from the National Weather Service on how long it was on the ground and how wide that tornado actually was. Now, we do have the threat for more strong storms in the forecast. We are quiet now, but live Doppler 7 radar shows thunderstorms already moving back into northwestern Indiana. I'm going to time out those storms. That severe weather threat back in our area for tomorrow. That's coming up in just a bit.
And the city of Brookville has a curfew right now. This started at 10 o'clock and will be lifted tomorrow at 6 a.m. The curfew involves these neighborhoods: the Terrace Park subdivision, Charlie Court, and the Brookville School campus. The police department has officers and civilian volunteers patrolling those areas. And you can see the problem in Brookville right now. An Eyewitness 7 reporter sent me some video. And tonight I talked with Brookville Mayor Chuck Lettner. He said his entire community either has no water, as you see right here, or it's just a trickle coming out of people's faucets. What's even more concerning is Brookville, if it has a fire, it will have to truck in water from Inglewood and New Lebanon. Brookville gets its water from Dayton, but said the mayor has no idea when it will have water again. This is because of damage to Dayton's water plants and power outages. At this point, the mayor said Brookville has enough water for its residents. That's bottled water. And Monday night's tornadoes are impacting water across Dayton and Montgomery County. News Center 7's Monica Castro joins us live in Dayton.
Well, some areas do have lower water pressure than others. A couple of the areas' water treatment plants lost power during the storm, so right now Dayton is under a boil advisory. Now, the Walnut Hills neighborhood may have been spared from Monday's tornadoes, but residents there are feeling the impact of the storms. Water pressure is lower than normal, or some people don't have water at all. Finding cases of bottled water was also difficult for many people today. Kroger on Wayne Avenue was sold out by 2 this afternoon. Now, the city will remain under that boil advisory until the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency is done testing water samples it's collecting.
Our Miami treatment plant is currently pumping approximately 30 million gallons of water to the system. Water staff continue to bring up production slowly and will continue pushing water into the distribution system.
When we were out here earlier, people were also trying to buy ice from that Kroger. They were also sold out of that ice. Now, the city did have several water distribution centers for people to pick up that bottled water. Also, we did notice a lot of good Samaritans helping each other out, giving them either cases of water or bottles of water. For now, reporting live, Monica Castro, News Center 7.
Montgomery County Environmental Services is asking everybody to stay out of the Stillwater and Great Miami rivers. The county said because of the outages, it is redirecting wastewater into the Stillwater River to minimize damage. If you drink the water or eat fish from it, you could get sick.
Tonight, 2 rounds of severe thunderstorms rolled through Mercer County, which was already hit hard by last night's tornadoes. Our crews caught heavy rain, thunder, lightning, and hail tonight. This is where one person well known in the community died in the storm. News Center 7's John Bedell talked to that man's next door neighbors about the storm and how they are remembering that man tonight.
I was going to stay in bed.
Tony Kanapke admits he was being stubborn when Monday's EF3 tornado was coming towards Salina.
And your wife grabs you and tells you?
And she tells me, get your ass down here.
Like I kept saying, it's a rumbling. It sounds like a train. Run now.
The couple ran to the basement together. Tony got halfway down the stairs when his ears popped. And then
I'm looking up the stairway and there's sky and rain.
This is what their house looks like now. The storm that struck their block was merciless. The view from Sky 7 shows a home 3 doors down that was ripped clean off the foundation. Their basement is now a pit. Aside from all this damage here in this part of Salina, this neighborhood is also, so far, the only place where tragedy has struck. The Kanapke's next door neighbor was Dale Hanna. He is so far the only person to be killed in Monday's storms.
He was already in bed for the night of sleep, and literally he did not see what was coming. It was probably a blessing for him, but it hurts our hearts as a community. We mourn with a family.
Honestly, it's the only tears that I've cried. This, it's a life. And he didn't make it, and it's tragic. And I feel for his family.
The Kanapkes feel fortunate to have survived the storm, say they wouldn't have made it without their basement. As they move on with the burden of starting over and the pain of losing Hannah, they tell me they'll always make sure people remember how he lived.
And he was just a really good man.
In Salina, I'm John Bedell, News Center 7.
It just looked like somebody just took a bomb and
people say it all the time. This is the sort of devastation they only see on TV, but now it's in their community. Hear what a woman found when she heard pounding at her door.
And 24 hours after tornadoes ripped homes apart, reality sets in.
You don't even know where to start. Everything is ruined.
The range of emotions for those who lived through it. Governor Mike DeWine showed up in the Miami Valley today to see for himself the tornado damage.
And News Center 7's James Ryder rode along with the governor as he looked at the devastation in Beaver Creek, and James joins us live.
DeWine was making his rounds today. He went to Salina, Trotwood, Harrison Township, and here in Beaver Creek. He said he looked at house after house and wondered how anyone made it out alive. And nearly everyone did.
You look at Trotwood and what I've seen from Beaver Creek, and to think that we only had one person who died in this, in Salina, it's a miracle.
DeWine credited news media like WHIO with alerting people on air, online, and on social media as a big difference in saving lives during this storm. Chad McKinney was watching TV when the storm was approaching his Beaver Creek home.
Once they said, at the Mall of Fairfield Commons, that's when I ran upstairs, got my 2 kids who were sleeping, and ran downstairs to the bathroom.
Chad says he heard glass crashing as he clung to the bathroom door with his 2 young children in the tub.
It's okay, be brave, we're going to get through this.
Minutes after the storm passed, he got his first glimpse of the aftermath.
It was dark, it was kind of smoky, it had this certain smell. It was truly like a scene out of a movie.
The roof was ripped off of his house, and he said everything's gone. For now, his family will be in Columbus with his in-laws. A former Wright State baseball player has already pledged to help Chad and his family after learning of this devastation.
It's truly the Raider gang. I'm just the public address announcer, and to reach out to me in this situation is just unbelievable. And, having former, head coach Rob Cooper, who's at Penn State now, to share that, and it's incredible.
One thing that he can't find right now is a quilt. It was made out of his dad's old work shirts. Something like that is irreplaceable. Chad's a lot like a lot of his neighbors right now, just trying to put together the pieces. The good news, though, no one in his family was injured during this storm. Reporting live in Beaver Creek, James Ryder, News Center 7.
The Red Cross has opened more than half a dozen shelters across the Miami Valley for people who cannot stay in their homes. News Center 7's Gabriela DeLuca went to one of the shelters tonight to see how busy it was. Gabriela?
Well, yes, the shelter is here behind me. That's where people can find a place to stay, get some water and some food. But this is what their cars look like when they show up here. Take a look at this one. The side mirror ripped off. The side of the car here caked with debris and mud. And check this out here. The back window smashed in. It had to be duct taped just so it could be drivable. We actually talked to a couple tonight. They came up in a car very similar to this one. They tell us they were scared for their lives.
And that's what it's about.
This is what volunteers at Corinthian Baptist Church have been doing all day long, loading case after case of water into the cars of victims of last night's tornado.
So we have people that have lost their houses, devastation everywhere around the area.
Two of those people are Reggie and Deborah Coleman, who live in River's Edge Apartments. They're at the shelter after a scary close call last night.
It came in real fast, like 100 miles an hour. Then the roof tore off, and the mattress flipped over right on top of us.
They spent the next moments hiding under the mattress.
And then I looked up like this under the mattress. I seen the thing going like this, great with garbage. Next thing I got put in the mattress, I was like, yo, we going together.
Today they went back to look at the damage. They took this video from inside their home, where furniture was scattered everywhere and the roof torn off.
We lost everything.
I thank God we living later for that. I thank God we live. That's how you know there's a God.
For many families like the Colemans, it's uncertain how long they'll have to stay at a shelter or find somewhere else to stay. At one point, this shelter was at maximum capacity. Reporting live in Dayton, Gabriela DeLuca, News Center 7.
Never so happy to see live Doppler 7 the way it looks tonight.
Yeah, I know. Much quieter night than last night. At this time last night, all heck was breaking loose.
Yeah, it was. We have much better, quieter, calmer conditions now than 24 hours ago, but we still have the threat for strong to severe weather as we head through the next 24 to 48 hours. This is what I'm going to be focusing in on, not just because of the severe weather threat, but because of how many areas have been devastated by yesterday evening's storm. So any more rain, any more strong winds, this is just going to add insult to injury and perhaps could slow down a little bit of those cleanup efforts in and around the Miami Valley. For the moment, you can see we have partly cloudy to mainly clear skies in the Channel 7 viewing area, but further north and west up towards Chicago, you can see a large cluster of thunderstorms that is ongoing. At this point, not at severe limits, but as those storms start to move to the south and east, we are going to watch them gaining strength, especially as we head into your day tomorrow. We have a slight risk for severe weather throughout the entire Miami Valley, so that's a 2 out of 5 scale. 1 or 2 storms tomorrow have the potential to reach severe limits. Main threats are going to be hail and damaging winds. That is a repeat story of every storm we've been tracking so far over the last few days. Heavy rainfall that could lead to some flooding. The tornado threat much lower than we experienced yesterday evening, but an isolated spin up is certainly not going to be ruled out in the environment that we are going to be dealing with on Wednesday. Let me take you through your futurecast. As we head through the overnight hours, we'll watch some showers and thunderstorms gliding by to our north. There's 1 o'clock in the morning, so if you're in Mercer, All-Glaze County, northern Shelby, you may hear some rumbles of thunder. That's going to be the storms passing to your north. Some showers may skirt on through as we head through the overnight, early morning hours of tomorrow. And meteorologist Kirsty Zonzini will track that if you're up before sunrise. By 8 o'clock in the morning, some showers and a few thunderstorms redevelop all across the north and west. They'll swing on by, not as potent really until we get towards the latter part of the day. 4:30 rolls around. Now we're looking at that threat for those stronger thunderstorms, and we're going to keep that threat for storms in the forecast through your Wednesday evening. So as we head into and through the dinner time hours and into the first part of early tomorrow night, those storms are going to be ongoing. As far as your commute forecast for tomorrow, should be decent. That's if you're not in any areas that are affected by the damage. By the evening drive, though, those thunderstorms perhaps could begin to slow you down. Tomorrow, we wake up mild and muggy in the mid to upper 60s, and then temperatures rise back into the middle 80s, and that's what's going to fuel more of those storms, as I just showed you on Futurecast. Tomorrow night into Thursday, we have another round of storms. They'll be with us for the morning commute, and rounds of showers and storms expected through the day on Thursday, and that may increase that threat for flooding widespread in the Miami Valley. A lot of our rivers and streams are coming up above their banks in some areas, so any rainfall is going to increase that threat. Chance for some thunderstorms, as I mentioned, Thursday will be quieter, a few rumbles of thunder on Friday, and we do bring back the chances for some storms late Saturday and again on Sunday, quieting down into early part of next week. Tune in tomorrow morning. Meteorologist Kirsty's on scene. We'll have the latest beginning at 4:25.
And 24 hours after these storms hit, people find themselves struggling to find direction and what to do next. News Center 7's Jenna Lawson spent the evening with people in one of the hardest hit areas.
My camera is outside. You're actually looking at me inside of someone's living room. Here off of Wagner Ford Road, the devastation is widespread. But I want to tell you, so is the resiliency. What has this past 24 hours been like?
11 years of memory in rubble, in hurt, sadness, fear.
Nearly 24 hours later, and Jill Holland still doesn't entirely know how to deal with all of this.
Who's prepared for this?
The storm blew out her back wall so forceful, a microwave pizza was pulled out of the freezer and onto the floor.
This is what time it happened.
11:19 is now burned into her brain. She showed me the basement where she, her husband, and their fur babies hunkered down for what felt like an eternity. It's a waiting game with her insurance right now.
The one company that they outsourced to help with devastation will come at some point tonight and board things up. I just don't think they're aware that they have to do it to a whole back of a house.
But with help from her husband Jason, they'll rebuild. Until then, they told me they'll just try to enjoy their new ocean view.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for keeping these folks safe.
But just in the time I talked with Jill on her porch, I saw the spirit of this community, offering water, food, prayer, and in cases like this, Jill said it's those little things that will keep her going. Now, going into the nighttime hours, a lot of people are going to be concerned about looting, especially when their properties are unsecured like the one I just showed you. But again, another example of this community and the greater community really rallying around this. After I got on scene today, I ran into a man who said he and a group of other people are going to be personally patrolling this neighborhood. They want to make sure residents can at least try to sleep a little sounder tonight. For now, reporting in Harrison Township, Jenna Lawson, News Center 7.
And in Miami County, a woman said during the storm she got a knock on her front door. Jenny Wheelock said a family with 2 children needed shelter and came to the house for help because their home was destroyed.
It's just very emotional to see this happen. It's devastating.
Jenny told our crew her house was not damaged.
Across our viewing area, workers are already out repairing tornado damage.
Steps people need to take if their house has been hit by these severe storms. And this part of Dayton, Eyewitness 7 reporter Rob Gay sent us this video from Ohm Drive. He captured people repairing roofs and doing the best they could to clear debris.
For anybody who has tornado damage, AAA says people need to contact their insurance company as soon as possible. And people need to keep receipts for things they buy, like food, clothing, and housing. Insurance policies might reimburse them for those things. And when looking at the damage, thoroughly document the damage with photographs and notes.
We continue checking out damage all across our viewing area.
Up next, the latest numbers on how many people were hurt and which areas were hit the hardest. We continue to learn new details after 5 tornadoes touched down in the Miami Valley. 3
EF tornadoes caused damage in Trotwood, Salina, and the third moved from Riverside into Beaver Creek. And an EF2 tornado touched down not too far from Inglewood. And late tonight, the National Weather Service confirmed an EF0 tornado near Phillipsburg. 1 man was killed in the storms and more than 130 others were hurt. Tonight, Greene, Mercer, and Montgomery counties are under a state of emergency, and still more than 45,000 people are without power. And of course, overnight we'll be updating on WHIO's news app, and our WHIO crew will be back tomorrow morning starting at 4:25. with the latest details from overnight.
Quick word from you.
Quiet for now, but the threat for storms return tomorrow.
Thank you, McCall.
Folks, as always, we appreciate your company.
Thanks for joining us. Have a good night and stay safe, please.